Hello, my name's Tom Walker. Welcome to this podcast, which I'm recording for Visualise Training and Consultancy. With me are Emma and Alan Ray. And the question is, would you date somebody who's visually impaired? Before we ask that question, let's get Emma and Alan to introduce themselves. Ladies first.
So I'm Emma. I live with Alan and I'm fully sighted.
Introduce yourself, please, Alan.
Yeah, I'm Alan and I'm visually impaired or blind.
How did you and Emma meet?
We met online. We used an app and I sent her a message and we started chatting and it went from there.
Is meeting online a particularly accessible way for visually impaired people to meet partners?
I think it can be, depending on what equipment you've got, mobile phones, things like that, computers. I think it's an easy way to be able to get in contact with people, yeah.
When Alan contacted you, I'm guessing, Emma, you didn't know he's visually impaired.
I didn't know. I saw pictures of him and I saw pictures of the dog, but you automatically assume this is a pet. And I'll admit the dog it tipped him over the edge a little bit.
Was this a shameless use of the guide dog? Admit it, Alan.
Possibly, yeah. Yes, possibly.
When you found out that Alan is visually impaired, Emma, what was your reaction? How did you feel?
So we'd been messaging at this stage for about 3 or 4 weeks and I'd already invested in, this person. We really hit it off straight away. So when he did say, well, I've got a dog, he's actually my guide dog, it was a bit of a shock. It was. It's not something that you expect. However, I'd invested and it did not change the fact that I liked Alan. I started to, see this can go places. I'd like to meet him. And I think after the initial shock of 5 minutes, I thought, okay, well, I've never gone out with anyone who's blind before. Let's give it a go.
There was never any point then when you thought, you know what, I'll just give this a miss. I can't be doing with a visually impaired person.
So the fact that he was visually impaired, it didn't matter to me. I knew that there was a certain level of independence there in the fact that you live by yourself, you had the dog, you were working full time. So I thought, well, if you can do all that, even without that, I think I'd invested in you that much at that stage that it didn't matter. I thought, what's the worst that can happen? Let's go out for one date. And if anything, I get to meet a guide dog for the first time.
How did you feel, Alan, as you were preparing for your first date with Emma?
I was quite nervous because, it's I'd had not much success when I told people that I was blind online, and people would just disappear. They wouldn't message me back. They would do all sorts of things. So,
this was called ghosting, I believe.
It was quite a lot of people would do that. I don't know why, but...
How did you feel when you were ghosted, when people just didn't get back to you once they'd found out you're visually impaired?
It was quite demoralising. It knocked my confidence. It was really horrible because people were, they're that shallow that they wouldn't want to speak to me anymore. And there's nothing wrong with me.
What do you think of people, Emma, who would ghost a visually impaired person in that way?
So I think if you're going to be that choosy and you're going to be that closed-minded, then it's difficult to put into words. I mean, the dating scene is tough enough for people who are sighted, people who are, quote, normal, to then throw in the fact that they're going to ghost you over something so trivial as the fact that, you don't work the same as other people do. It's something that I never would have done. I'll be honest with you, at that stage, I wasn't going and looking for somebody who was blind, but I didn't know who I was looking for. And luckily I found Alan, and it never fazed me.
I guess you're feeling quite lucky that he was ghosted by other people, aren't you?
Oh yes, definitely. Otherwise I wouldn't have found him, and it's obviously been the most successful relationship that I've ever had.
How has Alan's visual impairment affected the relationship?
honestly, I don't think it has. So, I mean, there's a couple of times where, and I've even admitted to him, you know, I think it's unfair that he gets to have a drink when we go out, but I don't. But apart from that, I've just had to, you know, when we've moved in together, I had to take on a couple of DIY things that, you know, typically that was, you know, a man's job. Apart from that, we work the same as a normal couple. We are a normal couple.
And you have had to encourage him, though, haven't you, to find out about services and support available, I think?
Of course I have. I think a lot of men in their 30s, a lot of young men do slip through the net. And the fact that where is the motivation, where is the drive, and where is the help? So, like every typical relationship, you get together. I found that I was the driving force in it, and I want to go and do these things. I want to do them now. I want to save up. I want to get married. I want a house, and I kind of dragged you along for the ride, really, didn't I?
Well, you've been dragged along all right then, have you?
Oh yeah, it's a thing though with the confidence, because of the ghosting and because of other things with my eyesight. The confidence wasn't there, and Emma has helped to bring that confidence out and to actually make me believe in myself a lot more.
Did you ever think, Alan, maybe I should just look for a visually impaired woman?
Possibly, but I think there's a person out there for everybody, and it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, somebody out there for everybody.
Yeah.
So for us singletons, we shouldn't give up hope.
No, never give up hope. Never.
More seriously, what advice would you give to visually impaired people who are out there thinking, you know what, I'm single at the minute and I'm not having much luck? What would you say?
I'd just say to keep trying. If people ghosting you, don't let it knock your confidence. Just keep trying, and you will eventually find someone like Emma who's open-minded, who's not shallow, and actually believes in you for what you are and not for your disability.
So in answer to this question then, Emma, I guess I know what you're going to say. Would you date a visually impaired person?
I definitely would. I did. I didn't realise that he was blind at the beginning, but when I did, it didn't put me off. I don't think it should ever put you off.
Should Alan have told you right from the outset that he's visually impaired, or were you happy with the way he handled it?
I think he could not have handled it any better. I'd invested in him then, and I think we were getting to know each other, what we have in common, and not where we differ at that stage. And it was your decision to tell me in your own time. And when you did, I just took it in my stride and started sending you voice messages instead of texting. Was
it something you thought about, Alan, the whole issue of when do I tell her, when don't I tell her?
Yeah, it caused me quite a bit of anxiety, to be honest. I knew when we were starting to get to know each other and we possibly arranging a date, I thought I can't hide the dog from her. So he's a big lad. So I thought I needed to tell her. But it did cause me quite a bit of anxiety when to actually tell her, and I thought that she would run away.
If he'd turned up without telling you, with guide dog in harness and everything, how do you think you'd have felt, Emma?
I would have been very shocked. I mean, first off, I would have been made up that there was a guide dog there because I love dogs. And now he's no longer Alan's guide dog. He's my dog that I allow Alan to go out with. I think, though, I would have been really shocked. I would have thought, okay, well, if he's hiding this from me, what else is he hiding? Yeah, but because I was prepared, I knew what I was going into. So you can't tell me that I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I think it was great. It gave us, that level of trust as well in the early stages before we'd actually met.
Sounds like you handled it perfectly then, Alan.
Well, I tried. It did stress me out a little bit, but it shouldn't affect you too much.
Well, obviously it hasn't affected you too much because you're both very much together. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Oh, thank you so much, Sam.